We have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck.
Good evening, everybody. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. On the other side of the glass, as always, is my partner in crime, Captain Mark Wages. And you are on the lifeboat. Welcome. So, hey, Chi-Chi. Good to see you, Chi-Chi. I love it when Chi-Chi's here. This is a subject matter that this isn't fun, right? I think it's necessary, and the number of people that reach out to me and ask me to talk more about this, there is no request that we get more when it comes to subject matter, and we try to blend it in as much as possible so that it is not, the majority of what we talk about, but it is absolutely essential. And the longer that we're doing this, right, the deeper the rabbit hole goes. So if you've caught one of these shows before, then some of this is going to, to be I guess like a refresher. However, there's going to be a lot of info that we didn't talk about the last time that I think is really kind of incredible. The more we start to look at the beast from the east, right? And if you've never heard one of these shows before, that would be the country that makes everything that we buy, right? It says made in, right? Okay, so that's the beast from the east. And they have made, in no uncertain terms, they don't like us, right? They've made it pretty clear that what they would like to do is become the dominant player on the world stage. They would like to unseat the U.S. of A. as sort of the go-to of finance, of everything. So there has been an attack that's been going on in this country, and we talked about the opiate epidemic. Is more than 300, and this is by statistics that I don't necessarily believe, but there are more than 300 people every single day in the U.S. that expire, that pass away via overdose. And it's every single one of these chemicals, the precursors, the actual substance themselves, all come from the beast from the east. And when the laws got changed and they had to change their modus operandi, they began to ship this stuff to the cartels south of the border, who started to assemble it, so to speak, and then send it across the border into the U.S. and send it across at a strength that is absolutely off the charts, right? As of the recording of this live feed, they're saying that 60% of every dose that they test is considered lethal. Now, keep in mind, people, a lethal dose may not kill somebody who does, 5-6 grams a day. But unfortunately, a lot of people who end up taking this stuff aren't those kind of addicts. A lot of the people who end up taking this stuff are people who enjoyed eating pills and catching a buzz. And they go out and buy these things because they look exactly like a Perk 30. So you've heard all of this. The scary thing is this. So if you back up and take a look at, let's say we go back prior to the opioid epidemic, because in my humble opinion, the beast from the East saw an opportunity, right, with the opioid epidemic. They saw an opportunity to really put a hurt on the USA. But prior to that, they were putting feelers out to see what kind of damage they could do. If there is a substance on the street anywhere in our country that is synthetic, right, it's coming from them. With, I mean, almost zero exceptions. That fat guy, that likes to play with missiles. He's been known to try to manufacture some of these things, and there are a couple of other places that are actively starting to manufacture fent. But that's based largely on the market, right? The demand for this substance now. The beast from the East has basically gotten to the point where it's difficult to supply the demand for this, which is insane. But anything synthetic. So if you start doing any kind of deep dive and look for any horror videos, right? I'm not going to come here and put any of these on. They're not fun. They're not. But they're worth seeing at least once. We all remember the episodes of when we had bath salts. Now you realize, people, that they have to justify anything that they sell, right? They have to give it a name that doesn't, they can't come out and say, hey, this stuff's a lot like tar heroin, right? That's probably not going to, do real well for them being able to fly under the radar. So they do things like potpourri, or they do things like bath salts. The head cleaner, right, for typewriters was always a big deal for inhalants, stuff that people, sniff. Rush was a big one back in the day that people, used to get high. But the bath salt really reached almost a point of being an epidemic in this country. And some of the videos that we saw from that period of time were terrifying. Now, keep in mind that they knocked off everything. What I mean by that is, if your substance of choice, right, was, came from the coca plant, they had a knocked off product that tasted like it, right, smelled like it, and did a very similar thing in the body. If you were more into the crystal, they got a product for that. And then if the people were into going in the opposite direction, they had something that was basically a precursor to phytonadiazines. Honestly, they couldn't use anything that would show up instantly on radar if tested. One of the things about NITS is that it doesn't, trip all of the warning bells on tests, because it's not, basically it doesn't come from the same family. It is a completely different type of opiate. Prior to that, we had the epidemic in the U.S. of synthetic cannabinoids, one of absolutely the stupidest expressions in history, because there was nothing about the stuff that mimicked cannabinoids, right? Nothing. It should have been called synthetic PCP.
Yep.
I've talked at length about what this stuff does, because it is the most popular drug in the federal prison system, because of the fact that you mix this stuff and you spray it onto paper. It's very easy to get by the people whose job it is to make sure that you don't smuggle anything in. There are people who write letters. Very often what they'll do is they'll get it sent on legal paper, right? So it looks like it's coming from an attorney's office, and they can't really play with that. They can open it in your presence, but they're not allowed to read that because of confidentiality and things of that nature. But to watch what this stuff does to people, over the course of 7 or 8 years of watching people smoke this daily, there were people I watched fry their brain. And I'm not, this is not, a term I'm using lightly. I literally mean I watched people fry their brain. I watched people who were pretty sharp, who could carry on a conversation and, seemed to have their snap that wound up zombies. And when they weren't on the substance, they didn't snap back, right? This stuff really does incredible damage. And guess where it's coming from, right? This is more product brought to you by the people who bring you everything else that's, damaging our country. For real, including propaganda, right? I won't go down that rabbit hole just yet. However, the bottom line with all of this is that no matter how far back you go, right? There was a period of time in the US in the 60s, right? And in the early 70s when all of the drugs coming into this country usually came from South America or from Mexico, South America via Mexico. And what was being imported at the time was mostly cannabis. So there was some coke coming in the 70s, and there was, the designer drug thing started to take off in the 60s with LSD and some of the other stuff. But currently, right now, there is nothing that you can't buy that isn't an analog for a substance. Anything that you get high on, they are selling a research chemical that will do the exact same thing. Now, the only thing that we've got going for us, I guess, is that on these research sites, it doesn't say, hey, this is the one that's going to mimic this, right? But you've probably seen the videos for Flocka, right? This is alpha PVP. This is a substance that gets used the same way that methamphetamine does. But I assure you, it is a much different substance. And what this stuff does on to the users on the street, again, videos out the wazoo of people just doing bizarre things, jumping off balconies. There is a pretty famous story about a gentleman who was associated with a rock band that removed his genitalia in the fits of a pretty good time, obviously, that he was having on some of these substances. So it is not a synthetic cannabinoid, I assure you. But they have been looking for the attack spot in the U.S. and using drugs as a weapon for a really long time. And the more you look at this, the more you realize that the people who are at the helm of the big ship, not this one, but the people who are at the helm of the big ship either don't give a crap, right? Or they're the dumbest people that ever lived. And I am given both sides of the aisle. I'm not, don't email me. Both sides of the aisle. Seriously, there is no one that is doing a even halfway decent job of acknowledging what's going on. I'm gonna go down some rabbit holes today that are my opinion, that are just my opinion, right? That's it. I promise you. These aren't facts. These are my opinions. But start doing a little research about the people who are coming into this country, right? There's a lot of stories recently written about people who crossed into our country that we caught, who are on lists, right? The T lists. And these people are not, supposed to ever have an opportunity to get into the good old US of A. But one of the things that you really got to start wondering is, how in bed are the cartels with the beast from the East? For real. Think about how porous the southern border is. Think about the number of people who are coming across on a daily basis and how many of them are, I don't know, military age. For real. You talk about a Trojan horse. We are welcoming these people with open arms and tossing them cell phones, and we don't have a clue what's going on. And don't email me. I'm not racist. I'm talking about protecting the country, right? We're in a crap load of trouble, and they are systematically taking apart the country. Now, there are things, if you get on TikTok and create a fake account, put yourself at 13 years old, right? Put in all the information. You're 13 years old, right? You dig Justin Bieber, yada, yada. Watch what they show you. Watch what gets bombarded to you. Watch the things that they do. They will try to convince you that you have multiple personality disorder, right? Which is so on the rise in this country if you look at the statistics of who actually has that syndrome versus the number of people who are making videos about it and really starting to think that this is the kind of the in thing. Right? It's just it's cool these days, right? To have either a factive or fictive system is the term that they use. You have a system of people basically that live inside your dome. And you think, why is this getting traction? Why are there so many kids in this country doing it? Why? Because they're getting pumped this crap down their throat, right? The beast from the East is telling our kids everything that they want our kids to hear. For instance, and I'm sorry, go ahead, mail me, email me. They're telling our kids, you know what? You're probably not the right gender, right? For real, people, do a little research and watch what they're shoving down our throat. And I'm not bagging on anybody who chooses any lifestyle. It's not where I'm going with this. But where I'm going with this is, I don't think we should allow our enemies to decide what our children watch for 6 to 8 hours a day. In fact, it's the dumbest thing that you can possibly wrap your brain around. And when you start looking at questions like, are they complicit? Do they give a crap? If you're going to write a bill that says nobody that works for the government can have any association with TikTok, can't have it on your phone, can't have it on your home computer. If you work for the government, you can't have that. Why in hell would it be safe for the rest of the country to have it? Honestly, why would you write a bill that just protected the government? You're telling me that they can really spy on everybody else, and that's just not a big deal. Is that what we're to understand out of this? Do a little research and compare what their product is, right? Because they have their own version of this in their country, and it's educational. No lie, people. It's like community college, right? I saw a bumper sticker. I think I may have said this already on the channel, but I saw a bumper sticker that said third graders in their country, right, are working on calculus. Third graders in our country don't know whether they're a boy or a girl. This is not going to work out well. If you ever read the book 1984, this is something that gets thrown around constantly. If you haven't read the book, you need to, because references are made to the dystopian 1984 society daily, right? It comes up constantly. But there is Big Brother that watches everything you do, right? Everything that you're doing, Big Brother watches. And at the very end, they have to break a person, right? They're trying to destroy someone who is rising up against Big Brother, right? And the way they destroy him is they get him to say that 1 + 1 is 3. And they just continue to beat this into him, right? Physically, emotionally. And once he is willing to admit that 1 + 1 = 3, then at that point, they know they got him. Everything is good. If we have people in this country who can't tell you the difference between a boy and a girl, who can't say, and I don't give me crap for what I'm saying, because I'm not bagging on anybody who thinks they're born in the wrong body. You understand? But if you can't tell me what a woman is, we're in deep crap, right? And this is where we're at today. Do you know where we're going to be in 7 years? Right? First of all, I don't think we're going to be around. I'm not playing games. I don't think we're going to be around. I think that they're doing everything they can to wipe us off the planet. When the time comes that WW3 starts, and I mean starts with the bang bangs, because it's already started. Trust and believe we're being attacked by them every single day. And the people who would get called up for the selective service are either doing drugs, right? Any number of them coming in from the beast from the East, or they're dead, right? Truthfully, of the 300 to 400 people a day that are dying in this country, how many of them are military age? Huh? Think about it. It's absolutely terrifying what is going on in this country. One of the most powerful things, and this has been known since the beginning of warfare, which shouldn't be a real shocker, because it's the beginning of warfare was written in a book called Sun Tzu, right? Sun Tzu, The Art of War. This is studied at West Point. This is studied, every military college in the world makes these people basically memorize Sun Tzu. You realize where Sun Tzu came from, right? Okay. Well, again, we've said this before. We think in terms of 4 years. What are we going to do in 4 years? What are we going to do in the next 4 years? What are we going to do in the next 4 years? They're thinking in terms of 100. But right now, we're sending a ton of money we don't have and a ton of weaponry that we aren't replacing to a part of the world that, whether you believe in it or not, we're spending billions and billions of dollars, right? On a military that is wildly depleted anyway. Because when we hauled, what, out of Afghanistan, we basically left them enough crap to arm a small army, right? Everything you could ever need. Do you realize we also left machines that will allow them to print military IDs? We left everything. If you don't think we're in deep trouble, people, you're not removing your head from the sand long enough to look at what's happening in this country. You can go online and pick any street in any major city and watch zombies. And I'm not picking on these people. I was as bad a drug user as anybody on the planet. But if I was a drug user today, I'd already be dead. There ain't a chance in hell I'd be alive. There isn't. The amount of dope I did, right? If it wasn't if I was doing the fent, I'd be dead, guaranteed. And for those who aren't dead, they're almost worse than dead. For real. Now we have an entire group of people that has become wildly dependent, right, on the government to help take care of them. And we're out of business when it comes to taking care of people, right? You realize if you look up the debt and how much money we're blowing, you won't believe the numbers. Honest to God, you won't believe them. It's the kind of thing that will cave your head in. Like, they talk about things like $6 million a minute. Wrap your dome around that. To spend $6 million a minute would be very difficult, right? How about to spend $6 million a day you don't have? I mean, $6 million a minute that you don't have. Because that's not what we're spending. That's what we're overspending. That's what we're basically borrowing at this point. And who are we borrowing from? Huh? We're borrowing from our enemy and from your grandkids and your kids. If we stick around long enough as a country, we are destroying, right? We are absolutely writing checks that we don't have to cash, right? Our kids and our grandkids have to cash it. I'm telling you, people, we are absolutely losing it. As a world, we're losing it. And if this doesn't sound like a drug talk to you, their number one weapon is drugs. Do you understand? Their number one weapon is drugs. And you have to ask yourself, do we not care or are we complicit? If you knew that between 300 to 400 people a day were dying from a drug like fent, would you cut down on the number of people working at the border? Honestly, in your first 2 years in office, you think you might visit the border? You might go down there and take a look? If you had a sit down with the leader of the country that is shipping all of this crap, right, to the streets of the good old US of A, you might bring it up, right? You might bring it up. Hey, since we're trying to move forward and build a relationship here, maybe you could stop killing 300 people a day in our country, right? You could stop sending this poison in that's killing men, women, and children, right? But they don't bring that up. It's not even brought up. I can't make a conclusion for you on why we're doing what we're doing, but it makes you wonder, because I promise you, they have buried their heads so far in the sand that it's terrifying. The response to the opioid epidemic, which isn't an opioid epidemic, it's an attack. Make no mistake, it's an attack. And, people like those who have never had a dependency disorder like to say things like, well, if the people weren't using, this wouldn't be a problem anyway. This stuff is enslaving people who never, ever would have ended up addicted to drugs. For real. There are people who experiment with drugs. The vast majority of people in this country experiment with drugs. Doesn't mean that they get addicted, but they fart around with it, right? You eat some Vicodin in college, or you eat some some perks. You end up taking a Percocet 30. You think that it's an accident that they targeted Perk 30s? They could have put this into any pill they wanted, right? The pill presses. But again, you talk about a country that doesn't seem to care. Why the hell can anybody in this country buy a pill press? Why? Why is that legal? And as far as well, we're a country of freedoms and this and that. Well, that's great. It really is. But when you sell the imprints to make a Perk 30, right? You got to know what that's being used for. So once again, what the hell is happening at the helm? How is this not even a priority? For real. This is not even a priority. People, if this is not the most existential threat ever facing this country, what the hell was? For real. It's, because it's drugs, we just stop watching, right? We don't care because these people are write-offs, right? They're dirty junkies. And no reason whatsoever to worry about junkies, right? Boy, when they flew into the Twin Towers, right? 3,900, right? I think it was 3,900. If I'm off, I'm not off by much, right? That day killed almost 4,000 people. That's a lot. It's 10 days of this damn epidemic of opioids. It's 10 days. That's happening, 3 times a month? And who cares? For real, because our government does. What they do is they throw cash, in theory, at the problem. Truth is, it doesn't get to anybody. For real, it doesn't. They have all of these billions of dollars from the last amount of money that they gave to help with the epidemic, and none of that's been spent. You understand that there are people that have to actually go out there and go, hey, I got an idea. I will go and apply for a grant for X amount of dollars to try to help fight this, because the government doesn't want to have anything to do with it. They don't want to make a damn decision. They don't want to do anything to stop the flow. So they'll just throw a buttload of money out there and say, hey, if you got a good idea, take a few $1 million, right? Hell, if it's a real good idea, take 100 million. The answer, 99 out of 100 times, I would say the answer is on the demand side. It's not on the supply side, right? You can't fight the stuff coming across because it's just going to keep coming across. But I'll tell you what, you can freaking try, right? You can try. How good an idea is it that the person whose job it is to make sure that nobody walks across the border has to actually go in and fill out paperwork on the people who were trying to walk across the border? You realize that leaves the post open, right? People, think about the amount of fent that is on the street and think to yourself, what the hell else has come across that border? What else do we don't know about? For real. Because if you can bring over fent as fast and as nasty as they're doing it, in the quantities that they're doing it, they could be bringing anything, right? Are there cells in this country waiting to go? Boy, if you don't think so, I don't know, people. I have gotten to the point, and I'm not, I'll get a couple of tinfoil hat emails tonight. Yeah, tinfoil, yeah. All right, here's the deal. The dead bodies are real, right? The number of people dying from this crap is real. The fact that nothing is being done about it is real. Tell me I'm wrong, right? Tell me what we're doing in any way, shape, or form to fight this. Because I'll tell you something. If I was at the helm and I knew that 400 people a day were getting killed because of something that was going on at the southern border, I'd ring them up. I'd say, this continues. I'm just going to have to come down there and take out the people that are doing this because you're attacking our country. That's exactly what's happening, people. We're being attacked. And I get emails from you guys all the time that say, you know what? They're happy because it's thinning the herd. They want less people on the planet. And you know what? I can't disprove that. Certainly, I can't disprove that. And when you look at the big picture, as we talked about last time, right? If you were going to start WW3 and you wanted the perfect storm, the first thing you would do is destroy the economy of the person you were getting ready to attack. How do you do that? from a V that gets out of a lab in your country, right? And that spreads all throughout the entire planet, shutting down everyone's economy, right? Put a hurt on us, didn't it? And then when we come out of that, right, what do we got? While people are sitting in lockdown, can't go to work, can't do anything, you know who was making freaking deliveries? Huh? I promise you, the non-essential workers, you could dial up a number and have a guy deliver Fent to your house in 10 minutes. Believe that. They didn't stop. When I was addicted, people, they would deliver on Christmas. They would deliver on New Year's. There's not a day that they don't work ever. If they get busted, somebody replaces them in 15 minutes. So I promise you, while we were locked down and the government was handing us free money, well, that was remittance money, right? That's cash that got shipped out of the country. Where's it going? Well, it's going south. And then it's going to the beast from the east. Not only are we getting killed by the busload, we're paying for it, right? We're helping them get rich in the process. So what? Throw a little bit more money at it, right? I realize that you didn't take any of the last money, but this time we're going to make it 30 billion, right? 30 billion ought to help. Like I said last time, how about we just hire people at $100,000 a whack and send them down to the border, right? How about we just try to stop the damn stuff from coming in here? You know, the wall, no wall thing. You know what, people? 400 deaths a day, right? I don't care where you stand on any of that crap. I really don't. I don't care what your political affiliation is. 400 people a day. And you know what they are? They're our brothers and sisters. They're people whose only crime is that they share an addiction that we all had, right? That's it. If this stuff was happening 15 years ago, do you realize how many of you I'd be talking to right now? Seriously. What percentage of the boat would have made it through? The stuff that's coming over here, and again, people say, you know, it's just a matter of them doing this stuff. It's not that they're trying to kill people. It's just, you know, why would you continue to make the product stronger and stronger and stronger? The stuff they're testing on the street today is stronger than the stuff that they were testing on the street last year. But it was killing crap loads of people last year. Just pure business, right? From strictly a business standpoint. How much sense does it make to kill the people who are paying you? Right? You realize that small cells, right? And they're called cells, people. That's what they refer to themselves as, cells. So a cell comes and sets up in Reno. The person might supply 80 people, right? Maybe 100. There'll be another cell somewhere near Sparks, 100 people, 200 people, right? That's usually about the size. You realize how many people are getting dusted off? I mean, people in cells have to know that 7 or 8 of my clients stopped calling me, right? Addicts don't stop calling. There's only 2 reasons an addict stops calling, right? They overdose and die or they go to jail. There's no other reason. For real. It is one of the most, you could set your watch by it. 8 o'clock. Yeah, no pun intended. 8 o'clock in the morning, the phones are going to start ringing. If you look at the perfect storm, you start this huge epidemic, not the drug one, right? The other one. And then you flood the streets with all of this stuff. And you know what? While you got people locked in the house and kids aren't going to school, destroy their minds. Literally trash their minds. You get to decide what your enemies' children will look at. Good God. Good God. Our government realizes this stuff is dangerous enough that they will not allow it anywhere near the government. But it's fine to allow all of us. People, tell me I'm wrong, right? Somebody prove me wrong, please. Somebody restore some hope in humanity, right? Make me believe that the people running our country are just stupid, because that's the only other option. You realize that, right? They're either stupid or they straight don't care. I guess they figure, you know what? Addicts, how many of them actually vote, right? And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that these rants are necessary. I really am. It would be a much better world if they weren't. But I feel like I'm in the freaking twilight zone, right? How do the people running this country not see what's happening, right? We run a YouTube channel, and it's pretty damn obvious we're being attacked, right? So the people at the helm of the big boat can't figure this out, right? With everything that they've got at their disposal. So the question becomes, do they just not care, right? Or are we so stupid, right? You know what the third option is? The third option straight sucks, people. The third option sucks. But you got to think about it. The third option is who's ever at the helm is compromised, right? Like maybe they dig the enemy. For real. Maybe they're thinking that when the ship hits the sand and it's all over and they take over our country, that they'll get a really nice house with a view of the beach, right? I'm not even playing. You know, you can tell me I wear a tinfoil hat. There does nothing else make sense to me. Honestly, nothing else makes sense to me. This looks like how do we destroy our country game plan? Like you sat down with a whiteboard and you started going through the stuff. All right, what do we do? Okay, first, remove a bunch of people from the southern border, right? That way, people who want to do us harm can walk across. That's a good idea. And tons of drugs will come in. Tons. Can't beat that, right? Cannot beat that. That's going to do a lot of damage. How in hell could this possibly have happened? If they're not complicit in this, then it's more frightening. Honestly, at least if they were trying to screw us, you'd say, well, makes sense. Instead, we have given the government over to, and both sides of the aisle, people. Trust me, I am not picking on any of them, right? Every single elected official we have. Who? Good Lord, it's enough to make you blow an O-ring.
Yeah.
Is it me?
Oh no,
you know, Mark, I feel like a lunatic. I really do. I feel like a lunatic. But
you know what though, man? Listen, if we gotta be lunatics to stop it, that's what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's just do that. You know, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. We can't just sit back and sit on. You know, I made a comment earlier, just a little few minutes ago in the comment section. It doesn't matter what side you fall on this issue. The main thing is to make sure that we're talking about it, because eventually we're going to come to a conclusion to where we can at least have a goal. And how oftentimes we talk about here, we can't get anywhere. How do you know that you're progressing unless you know what the goal is? And everybody's just sitting around doing nothing. And it is frustrating. You know, it really truly is, because
I'm telling you,
especially here, and I know people see it here. I really truly do. But you know what I think that needs to happen is we got to poke each other, because sometimes you know we got to lift each other up, which is what we do here all the time. But sometimes we got to say, hey man, you know, start hammering that a little harder. You know, just go over here.
Take a good look, right?
Yeah.
You just sort of gotta try to get people's attention and pay attention. This is an opinion, right? It's just an opinion. In fact, I'm not even going to call it an opinion. I'm going to call it a great script for a film, right? Great script for a film. Let the leader of the country's son into your country. Let him do really twisted, disgusting, nasty things. Video it, right? Make sure you got as much dirt as you can possibly get on that guy, right? And then make sure you get him into office. Do whatever the hell you got to do to get him into office. Because once he's there, you can say, how's this, and this, right? And you know something, people? I'm sorry, you know, get angry, whatever. His kid's laptop has pictures of him doing stuff that I go to prison for, right? Tons of it. Really whacked stuff. There's stuff on that laptop that's disturbing, right? Forget the drugs. There's some disturbing stuff on that laptop. But at the time, his old man was VP, right? You know, you talk about the third option people. It doesn't make any sense to me at all, right? Unless maybe the cat's compromised. And you're going to yell right wing this and right wing that. No matter how you look at this. I mean, what's the other option? He's the dumbest man that ever lived. And so is everybody else. The people at those 3-letter agencies, right? They have been trashing this country since we invented them. When we were in Vietnam, right? First heroin epidemic, early 1970s, right? Because it was coming back with, you know, those 3-letter agencies started bringing that stuff in. Why? Because if they ask for more than a certain dollar amount, which used to be like 50 million, I don't know what it is now, but you got to go to Congress and tell them what you want it for. And they like going places and doing things without telling anybody, right? They're into that. So they fund this stuff with drugs. And if you think I'm crazy, some of this is downright documented, right? Some of this is a stone cold fact. You look up Freeway Ricky Ross and see what they did to that guy, right?
Yeah.
What they literally just turned this guy into the world's biggest crack dealer when no one knew what crack was. For real. They handed the guy the keys to the world of being the biggest drug dealer ever. That's again, there you can go out and research this to the end of time. The Last Great White Hope, pretty good documentary you could watch on this, where people who were his handlers, who work at that 3-letter agency, not the one that starts with the F, the other one, right? His handlers saying, yeah, we did him dirty. We did him dirty. That was the whole Iran-Contra thing. See, we were flying up blow, sending back guns, right? Taking the blow and turning it into crack. Trouble is, like Jurassic Park, right? Every time they think they can contain anything with drugs, it jumps the border, right? And the stuff they were releasing in California all of a sudden hit the entire U.S. And in the 80s, the crack wars were dangerous. And now they look like the good old days, right? They look like the good old days. How many people are getting shot over fentanyl? How many people are getting stabbed over fentanyl? How much money are we losing in productivity at work because of fentanyl? This stuff is destroying our country. It is destroying our country. Workforce participation has never been lower in history, right? In history. Why? Because half the damn country's wasted, right? It's really hard to go to work when you have to cop dope every day, when you have to have it, right? This isn't a drug that people enjoy getting high on. This is a drug that after a few times of doing it, there's no turning back, right? Plain and simple. It's genius. Sad but true, it's genius. If you want to take out a country, this is the way to do it. By the time they come in, and they're going to come, believe it. By the time they come in, there won't be anybody willing to fight for our country. Like I said last time, you can Google. They did a little study, and they asked millennials, if you had to take up arms to fight for your country, would you do it? Google the results. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Just Google the results. And you think, well, what happened to patriotism? What happened to patriotism? We brainwashed our kids. We handed the keys to our children's brains to the beast from the east. They're just dance videos. Right? They're just dance videos. Boy, they picked on T-Man when he started, we need to get rid of this stuff. It's dangerous. They literally mocked him in the press, right? Mocked him. He's losing his mind over dance videos.
Yeah,
Let me assure you, it ain't dance videos. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I agree. I mean, dance video. I just don't. Some of this stuff, man, it just sometimes it gets almost so hard to follow what's going on, and I think that's isn't that kind of like part of their strategy? I would think, just to confuse us, and I really do think that that's part of it. And because when you're confused, what do? A lot of times you just throw your hands up in the air and say, forget it.
Sure.
And
you make an amazing point.
Yeah.
Truthfully, because not only is the confusion huge, but maybe you've noticed We hate each other, right? Our country, we hate each other. You think that that was an accident? People, let me tell you something. The AI that these people have, right? They literally, we did a video on it. Go and watch the video that we did on TikTok. You realize 10% of our country, adults, say that that's where they get their news. You think it's an accident that we hate each other? They want us to hate each other. They're destroying our country brick by brick, right? By eroding the fabric of what made this country what it is. So the new generation, they don't give a crap about this country. They don't care, right? Because they've been told it's an evil country, right? That's been shoved down their throat. You know, I'm not going to be popular tomorrow. I'm absolutely not going to be popular tomorrow. But you know what, people? You can.
It's not a popularity contest, though. It's really not.
What's that?
It's not a popularity contest. It's
thank God.
It's not.
Because I don't think we would do very well, Mark.
But you know, and that's the thing, though. Whether, like, you know, Flamin said it earlier a little bit in the chat there. As a matter of fact, I think his comment's still up there. Both sides are corrupt, and he's 100% correct. And that's the whole point, I think. Because, you know, we could take it and we could turn it into a whole political thing if we wanted to, or we could go down this road or that road. But at the end of the day, both sides are. I mean, just look at what's going on, what happened yesterday. I mean, come on. When you got people physically going at each other in our quote-unquote house of law over in the same party. This is inside the same party lines. So that tells you right there what Flamin just said. It's 100%.
It only took 14 votes, right?
Yeah,
no big deal.
yeah. And again, like I said, you know, we don't. It's not one of those things, and that's what the point is. That the people that are in charge, no matter what side it is, they are corrupt. They just simply are. You know, do you know anybody in your life, even in like a smaller corporation or a bigger corporation, that didn't have to stand on somebody else's neck to get to where they were at? Find one person and come back to me, because I want to hear it.
I'll tell you what, the saddest part of where we're at with politics, and I apologize. I saw a comment that said the chat's going too fast to follow it. You know, if
it's okay. It was moving for a minute, but
okay, good. What it's boiled down to is that the people who are in office today only give a crap about them being in office. You realize that not one politician in this country has even an iota of an idea of what it means to be a human being living in this country. If you are a senator from Hawaii, you come to Washington to vote, do everything else, and your son's got a basketball game on Tuesday. You get on an airplane, taxpayers pay for it. You fly back, you catch out your kid's game, right? Then you fly back, vote on a couple of bills. Daughter's got something, jump on an airplane, come over, watch your daughter sing in the choir. And we just drop this cash, right? For every one of these imbeciles. And they've got what, 30, 40 people who are aides that do nothing but just research all of this. You realize by the time a bill gets to be signed, no one had anything to do with writing it. For real. There's nobody in Congress writes bills. They don't, right? The people who are paying them to vote on the bill write it. If you look at any of the tragedies that we've had in this country, and some people would call them false Freddies, whatever, you know, but look at any of them. Shortly thereafter, they'll pass a big law that's going to make us safe, right? The National Defense Authorization Act, as an example, or anything like that. Get a look at how big these bills are, how many pages these bills are. But we're expected to believe that somebody wrote that. They wrote that thing up in 3 or 4 days, got copies for every single person in all of Congress. If you don't see exactly what's happening, you know, I honestly feel like we may be past the point of no return, which is a depressing thing to say. It really is. It's a horrendously depressing thing to say. But I very much believe that where we're at right now, the amount of miracle it would take to right this ship, so to speak, right? To right this ship. getting back to if this was WW3, how about if you got one of your partners who's going to join you in the march to attack some country that's right on the cusp of being NATO, but not NATO, right? Why not NATO? Because if it was NATO, the whole world would come to their aid, right? But if it's not, just watch how much America drops on it, right? Watch how much America drops on it. And just send over all the weapons, send over all the stuff, right? You keep this going. And then when the time comes that they actually go from drugs to bullets, are we even going to have any? For real? Are we going to have any? You realize that recruitment has never been lower. I wonder why. Huh? Maybe it's because we all hate each other. Maybe it's because they have convinced people that there's just no point in patriotism. There's no point in any of that anymore. Now, the good news is that there are some people that don't watch TikTok, right? I mean, that's if you're going to sound like a person that wears a tinfoil hat, you're going to have people give you some crap. And you know what? It's worth it. It's worth taking the crap, people. It really is. But if you talk to someone and they go, oh yeah, my daughter was on TikTok, you need to come unglued. For real. You need to come unglued. You have to go, you got to be, you know what in me, right? You're allowing your kid to watch that propaganda crap. Tell you what, take your kid's phone and you get on it, right? Spend 3 hours looking at what your kid's looking at. For real, right? You got to come unglued if you find out that somebody you care about is allowing their kid to watch this, or God forbid, a moron friend of yours is getting their news from that source. What the deuce? Lady Crispin, thank you. Appreciate that. It's a sad topic. It really is. However, it's a necessity. It really is. Because right now, if we don't get our act together yesterday, right? If something doesn't happen yesterday, then it's all over but the crying, right? The sad thing is this: freedom isn't free. It really isn't. So every couple of generations, a crap load of blood has to get spilled in order for that freedom to continue. Sad, right? The problem is, if we ever have to do that again, who's going to stick around for it? Angel Wings, you look great in green. You really do.
That's right.
Thank you.
She figured it out. We've been working with people in there having some issues trying to find the join button. So I think we're
thank
we're
the
helping.
Lord that I'm not having anything to do with it because,
Yeah, if I said I asked Tommy how to fix that after the stream, I was like, Tommy don't know where that button's at.
Yeah, I think she was probably saying that. I think she was probably saying that tongue in cheek.
I was cracking
Chris
up.
S.
Love it.
And I'm sorry, Virginia said, I told my friend to get her child off TikTok. God bless you. God bless you. Lady Crispin, that's what she thinks of TikTok.
Poopies, baby.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely right. The concept that we allow propaganda into our children, right? From straight up enemies, right? Absolute enemies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know what? This isn't a fun subject.
No,
it isn't.
It's not.
But I'll tell you something. I'm not going to stop yelling. I'm not. Maybe when I hear 5 or 6 other people yelling, right? Maybe when I see somebody in government say, holy crap, we're losing 400 people a day, right? We got to do something. We got to do something. How about sending the National Guard to stop this crap from coming in? If this isn't an attack, what is? If you're being attacked, you send the military. You don't remove a large chunk of the people who are trying to handle that job, who are in way over their head. Not because they're not great people, right? They're just in over their head. These people that we think are just, coming across because they really want a better life. Absolutely, probably the truth. But they're being sent over in groups. They're not letting you walk across. The cartels ain't having that. They're going to tell you when you're going to go, right? And don't even get me started on what is happening to women and children, right? This has been the worst thing. Watching TV today, I noticed everybody had a phone in their hand. You know something? This thing may be the worst thing that ever happened to anybody. For real. This thing may be the absolute worst. Stephanie, I apologize. I really am so bad at this.
What's that? What you got?
She said, "No worries. I'll try it on my laptop." I wish I could.
Listen, guys,
honestly, Mark has to handle the hang of this stuff. I do not.
Yeah,
I am so inept.
Let me just say this before we get off, so I don't have to type it. First off, I want to give Fi big time props for what she did with our page. That was one of the. I mean, it looks really, really good. I mean, I was really.
I think it's excellent.
Yeah, I really do. So if you guys haven't had a chance to go back and check out, some of our older videos, they're easier to find now. Also, we would add like videos to the end of our live streams, like you can just click on them. But we have to go back in after it posts the next day to do that. You can't even set it up when you're setting up a live stream. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, I'm trying to remember to do that. I've done it on a few of them, so that's going to help you guys. But as far as joining, when you click on the live stream, okay, it'll be underneath Tommy, just to the left of the subscribe button. It should say join. Okay, there's another button there. If it's not there, email me and we'll try to figure it out for you. I would have to actually see what your screen looks like and to see what you're looking at, so I could try to help you. Other than that, when I see them start talking about it in the live chat here, I went into the back office to make sure everything was turned on, and it is. So there's not much that I can do as far as going forward with that, unless you guys email me and I could try to, because I was able to help Stacy Michaels. This is something else too, guys. You guys need to keep in mind.
Angel Wings. Yes, thank you.
There she is. She got it. What I want to say there is that if you got two different YouTube accounts that have the same name, because it's possible, a lot of people do that. If you're on the wrong account, you ain't going to show up as a member, even if you're a member. So Stacy's actually, I think she's in here on her other account tonight, but last night she was on the right one and she had her jacket on. So everything's good. So just remember that, guys. Sorry, I didn't want to throw a bunch of inside.
Oh, no, you're good. Family Landscape Company. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Oh, Sling Blade just got gifted by Angel Wing. Thank you, Angel Wing, for gifting a membership. That's awesome.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, that really is. That's good stuff. There's Stacy Michaels.
Yeah.
So now she's looking.
There she is.
There
she is.
Yeah, she's looking normal. I want to read a comment, people, and you may not have seen this one appear in the comment section, because this got emailed to me while we were running. But the way I've got this set up, if an email comes across, I can usually get a look at it. It said, "I love the message you gave tonight. The government agreeing to almost 100 billion to date to you know who you is, right? And have border agents taking their lives because they can't handle it. Fent that was caught would kill the whole country twice over. How much got across? The government needs to spend that money on the border, or it's going to get really horrible." And I'll tell you something, people. I probably could have saved an hour and just read that comment, because that really is that pretty much sums it up right there. You know?
Yeah, I would agree.
It's a frightening time that we're in, people. But you know something? There are good people left. There really are. There are good people left. And if you had heard me 5 years ago and someone was saying, you know what, you really got to make sure you're prepared, for anything, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared, you're probably dropping the ball, people. It's just going to get ugly. I promise you it's going to get ugly. And sadly, that's just the way it is. We will be back tomorrow night. And just for Buddha, I'm going to pick a really happy topic for tomorrow night. I think I might do kittens in baskets. It's tough to go wrong with cats in baskets. Linda Ingram says, revelation. Boy, oh boy, people. You know how I feel. This is not a religious channel, but you know how I feel. So I will say this: get right with who you believe in. Right? Get right, because it's a good time to be right. It's always a good time to be right. This is an essential time. All right, people. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
That would be Captain Mark Wages tonight.
yes, it would.
If you guys heard my dog tonight, I am so sorry.
And that's a cat in a basket. See that? Never makes a sound, this cat. She is real, by the way. Somebody actually sent me an email suggesting that squirrel was stuffed. If you go and look at enough of them, you absolutely will see squirrel move. I promise. All right, everybody. We love you. Have a great night.